Chapter 1. Reincarnation. I looked towards the end of the street and saw my destination, Saitama Urami East Junior High. The school itself was well taken care of. Overall it was a good school. I was a third year, however, having to go to school a second time sucked, no other way to say it. It's already been 14 years since I was reincarnated into this world. I have had a relatively good life. I had food to eat. I had knowledge from my previous life, so school was a breeze. I didn't exactly have a place to call my own, but I did have a roof over my head at the very least. I was born to a good woman who never left me wanting for anything. I don't know who my father is, but I was fine with that. My mother came from Italy but moved to Japan 2 years before I was born. I inherited my mother's blue eyes. I can only assume I got my white hair and lady killer looks from my father. I stood out quite a bit due to my odd hair color, but I was never bullied or anything. It was just a bit difficult to make friends, though I didn't really try all that hard on that front. It was pretty difficult to make friends when I am mentally older than all of my peers. However, over time things changed. When I was 6 years ago, my mother passed away due to stress and overwork. I was left alone with nowhere to go. Thankfully, I was taken in by the orphanage. It has been my home for the last 6 years. The matron was a kind old lady that seemed to genuinely care for her charges. I wasn't all that close to her due to already being a fully grown adult in the body of a child, but she made sure I had everything I needed to be successful. Thanks to the knowledge from my previous life, I was able to skip a year of school. I could have likely skipped ahead more but decided not to. I wanted to have as much time to learn more things for my future. I also wanted some time to consider what I wanted to do after high school, something I still haven't figured out. I was also born with a lot more strength than normal, not enough to truly be considered superhuman, but still well over what is normal. As I continued to walk to school, a classmate of mine ran past me. "Felix, you better hurry up, class is about to start in 5 minutes. "Yeah, Felix. That's my name, Felix White. X. A month has passed since then. I gather my things and leave the classroom. As I walk out, someone calls out to me. "Felix, want to come with us to Carrick?" I turn towards the person who called out to me and notice a small group of people. There are 2 junior classmates and 3 in my year. In the lead is Sauji, the one who had called out towards me. "We have 5 people. If you join we will have 6. Wanna give it a go?" he said. "Sorry, not this time. I have to study for the math test next week. Maybe next time." "Ah, I see. Maybe next time then. Let's go, guys," he says with an expecting look. I exit the classroom after the 5 of them and walk down the stairs as I ponder why he asked me to join him. He asks me to join him and his group of friends quite a bit. I did join them a few times, but they just aren't my kind of people. After a few minutes of walking, I reach the entrance of the school. As I walk out, I notice a few groups of friends leaving together, presumably to hang out. I look up and notice that it is starting to rain. I didn't bring my umbrella since I was in a rush this morning. Fuck, my shoes are going to get wet. Soggy shoes suck. I continue walking towards the orphanage. Once I reach the crosswalk, I stop and take off my backpack, and begin to take off my jacket to cover myself up a bit, but as I am doing that I notice 2 people ahead of me. One is a somewhat tall and slim man with uniquely styled black hair, and another is a young girl with brown hair styled in a ponytail. The male is walking a short distance ahead of the female, and as I observe them I notice the girl slip on a puddle. I stop what I was doing and jog towards her to help her up. I was raised a gentleman after all. As I look over her, I offer her my hand. I don't see any injuries or bleeding, so she should be fine. She takes my hand and offers a short thanks as she introduces herself. "Tsumiki, what a nice name." As I turn to get my backpack from where I left it, I hear a rumbling noise from my right, and I realize that we are in the middle of a crosswalk and quickly turn and push Tsumiki out of the way. It was just a subconscious reaction. That's when it happened. As the loud rumbling gets closer, I suddenly feel pain. Everywhere there is pain. Through the haze of pain I notice that I am laying on the ground now. Everything hurts. Pain resistance acquisition successful. Was I hit by a car? Physical attack resistance acquisition successful. I hear someone shout in a panicked voice. "Megumi, call an ambulance." However, my focus wasn't on that. I don't know if I was breathing. However, my thoughts were clear. Am I going to die? Wasn't I special? Wasn't I a reincarnation? Where is my cheat? Request accepted. Processing. Unique skill. Cheat acquisition unsuccessful. Thought this is a sad way to die. After all that my mother did for me, in the hopes that I'll live a happy and successful life, I go out like this. Do I deserve this? I always did my best and took in as much knowledge as I could, in order to live a successful and happy life in the future. I hope that all that I had learned throughout my 2 lives would help me in the future, but it seems that all effort will be a waste. Request accepted. Processing. Unique skill. Studious 1 acquisition successful. Hot, it feels hot everywhere now. What is this? Confirmed. Heat resistance acquisition successful. How come I get ran over by a car? Can't luck be on my side for once. Request accepted. Processing. Extra skill. Fortunate 1 acquisition successful. Hold on. Stay with me. Megumi, how long until the ambulance gets here? This is hot. I at least wish I had someone by my side in this life, a constant companion to keep me company. Am I going to go to hell this time? Extra skill. Sage acquisition successful. I start to feel myself lose consciousness. My last thought is how cold death feels. Cold resistance acquisition successful. Acquisition of heat and cold resistance results in acquisition of new skill, thermal fluctuation resistance. Acquisition of intrinsic skill. Magic resistance successful. Acquisition of intrinsic skill. Material creation successful. Acquisition of intrinsic skill. Spirit possession successful. Acquisition of skill. Demonic core successful. Race of the host successfully changed from human, jujutsu sorcerer, to spiritual life form, lesser demon. Converting ability limitless within user into skill. Processing. Intrinsic skill. Limitless acquisition successful. X. I slowly opened my eyes and woke up with a gasp. Where am I? I thought I heard a voice. Ah, that's right, I was run over. Obviously I am not dead yet, hopefully I am in the hospital, or maybe this is some version of heaven or hell. Okay, I need to calm down and figure out what is going on. I'm usually pretty good about keeping calm in stressful situations. My body doesn't hurt anymore. I'm not cold or warm. My body actually feels quite odd, almost like I wasn't totally there. It was hard to describe. I just felt different. I try to move my hand and am quite happy that it still functions as normal from what I can tell. I can feel things, which means I still have sensation. I try to feel my environment with my hands and feel it run through something rough and coarse, almost like dirt. That rules out the hospital, as no hospital would leave a patient to rest on something like that. I slowly start to look around my environment and am surprised by what I see. I notice a few beings drifting around in the distance. Most of them didn't seem to have a form, but some looked to have goat-like heads and animal-like lower bodies. Just where the fuck am I? I notice some rocks and trees in the distance, so I am somewhere outdoors. I slowly get up off the ground before I suddenly get a bad feeling. I subconsciously launch myself off the ground and go flying into the air. Extra skill. Danger sense acquired. Before I can figure out what just happened, I get another bad feeling. I quickly turn around and notice a ball of fire rushing towards me. I quickly try to move out of the way but am unsuccessful. But as it starts to get closer, the fireball slows down before coming to a complete stop in front of me. That's when I notice I'm not moving. I am floating in place. I quickly move past my surprise, and subconsciously will the fireball to go back in the direction it came from. I watch as the fireball quickly flies back and notice a half-goat half-man standing on the ground in the fireball's path. Extra skill. Magic manipulation acquired. I watch as the fireball hits the half-goat, resulting in a blast of fire. I slowly calm my breathing down as I look towards the fire and notice that the half-goat is missing. I continue to float there for what must have been 15 minutes before I slowly descend to the ground with the new wings I discovered. And isn't that a surprise? I have wings. This confirms the fact that I died and was reborn as something else. Man, I've been isekai twice over. As I land on the floor, I am completely focused on the area around me. I don't know what I was attacked by. It could be anything and it might be hiding. As I scan the area around me, I notice something odd all around me. I can feel something, but it isn't physically there. What in the world? Extra skill. Magic sense acquired. What is that voice? All of a sudden I can feel my surroundings perfectly. From the dirt to the rocks and plants, I can feel it all. The mysterious thing all around me is still there, but it is focused on the fire in front of me. Is it some sort of energy? Maybe it is magical energy. I did just see a fireball thrown at me, and I somehow stopped and deflected it. I would be a fool to deny the existence of magic at this point. Thanks to the skill, as the voice called it, I can tell there isn't anything hiding around me, so I quickly begin to leave the area. I don't want any more of those things to decide to attack me. As I start to leave, only one question dominates my thoughts. What's happened to me? I finally found a cave that I might be able to rest in. I quickly use the new skill to sense the cave's interior. It isn't very deep at all, so I am able to sense the end of the cave. Thankfully it is empty. I quickly walk towards the end of the cave and sit down. I finally have a chance to process everything that happened, from my death to my reincarnation, and my newfound ability to use magic. Thankfully I am not having a panic attack, but I am pretty damn close to it. I go over the fight, from my new nature to how I was able to send the fireball back, to what the voice that announced my new skills is. I need to plan my next steps if I want to survive whatever world this is. I have no food or water, and my shelter isn't all that good either. I also need to look around for other intelligent life, see if there are any cities around here. Maybe I can understand what and where I am if I can find a city. Before I make a plan, I decide to get a proper rest. I lay down and slowly drift off to sleep. Unknown amount of time later. I look forward as the demon starts to form a fire lance, ignoring the incoming attack, as I use a skill of mine to disrupt the magic that the monster was gathering, causing the fire lance to fizzle out. As I continue walking towards it at a languid pace, it keeps trying to use spells, but keeps failing. The only reason it isn't trying to use physical attacks is because it can't hit me. It seems this one has a sliver of intelligence. I notice it preparing to flee, but before it can try to get away, I raise my left hand and use one of my skills. Limitless. It quickly flies towards me, as if it was being sucked in by my palm. Once it is in striking distance, I quickly punch its stomach area with my right hand, obliterating its entire upper torso, while the rest of its body turns to ash and disperses into the air. I had come to the realization that the monsters I was fighting were some sort of demonic being after my second fight against one of those guys. I mean, what else can they be with their animal-like heads and animal-like lower bodies? Fighting has a few effects. One, it helps me practice my skills in magic, which slowly increases the capacity of my magicule reserves. I noticed I had an inner pool of mana, or rather magicules, soon after I woke up from my rest. What surprised me was that the magical energy around me isn't called mana but magicules. I had learned this through a skill of mine. The second and final effect was that I could learn to use my skills better, or even gain some skills in the middle of a fight. It couldn't have been more than 3 months since I left the cave. At the time I searched around for food and water. I was surprised I wasn't feeling hungry or thirsty, but I wasn't complaining. I was able to find a lake for water, but unfortunately I was unable to find food. Thankfully, however, after some time passed, I was able to figure out that I no longer needed any food or water, which was a lifesaver, but it seems like I won't be tasting anything for some time to come. I had also discovered that my physical looks were completely different. I looked a lot like the demons that I was killing. I had a goat-like head with 2 goat-like legs as well. I had claws now, and my arms were also quite muscular, along with having red horns poking out of my head and wings. My eyes have also changed. The color of my sclera was now black for some reason, another mystery that I need to solve. It took me some time to come to terms that I look like a monster. My former good looks were now gone. I was able to eventually get over it with the hope that I would gain a skill that lets me go back to my former appearance at some point. Once that was over with, I began my experimentation with my physical body. There were a few things I discovered. First of all was that I could in fact fly with my wings, which makes sense. They have already proven how useful they are with aerial combat. My natural strength has also monstrously increased. I could obliterate a tree with a casual punch, and when I seriously punched the ground, I created a massive crater. My stamina has also increased. I don't find myself getting tired or needing sleep. I mostly rest and sleep simply for my own mental health. Next up, I experimented with magic, starting with my skills. I was able to figure out the ranking of skills. They are common skills, extra skills, and unique skills. There may be higher tier skills, but I haven't discovered anything beyond unique skills so far. I could subconsciously tell what skills I had and their functions, which was useful. Skills in general are incredibly easy to control. It's almost as if using a limb, though that might be because of the benefit of another skill of mine. However, just like a limb, you need to practice skills like a muscle if you want your power and control over your skills to grow. Starting with my common skills, I have paralysis resistance, pain resistance, physical attack resistance, and thermal fluctuation resistance. I was also able to gain a new common skill, atmospheric current control. It basically allows me to manipulate the electricity already in the air. Using this skill, I can summon bolts of lightning from the sky. Next up are my extra skills, starting with Sage. It is a skill that allows me to accelerate my thought process, so that I can quickly make decisions in combat, but more importantly, it boosts my comprehension, which has helped me learn how to effectively use my abilities much quicker than I imagine it would take without it. My next skill, Fortunate One, basically just increases the chances of lucky events happening, along with increasing my charisma. Next I have Danger Sense, which is one of my more useful skills. It basically warns me about any incoming danger, sort of like Peter Parker's Spidey sense. My next skill is the one I use to prevent the demon from using magic manipulation. It basically allows me to control the magic in the air for a multitude of uses. I can easily manipulate the natural elements at a basic level, and even disturb someone else's use of magic. I was even able to get a bit creative and find a way to layer magic on my body, as a sort of defense in case an attack managed to hit me. Magic Sense is a skill I use for mostly utility purposes. It allows me to see the surrounding magic in the air, and see a full 360 degrees around me with no blind spots. The skill lets me see even in the dark and with my eyes closed. That's another thing about wherever I am, most likely the underworld or hell. There is no day and night cycle, it is always dark. This makes it extremely difficult to know how long it has been, as I can't tell how much time has passed, and I unfortunately cannot claim to have been cool enough to count the seconds since I left the cave. The next skills are my intrinsic skills. As far as I know, these are basically skills innate to my race, starting with magic resistance, which basically reduces the effect elemental magic has on me, as long as the strength of the magic doesn't reach a certain level. My next skill is one that I use to craft my clothes. Material creation allows me to use my magic to create weapons or clothes. I used it to make myself some clothes that wouldn't be damaged by my fights. My final intrinsic skill is one I haven't quite found a use for, spirit possession. It allows me to possess someone's body. But here is the thing, nothing I have found here has a physical body for me to possess, myself included. My form is made up of magic, and so are the other demons. I'm sure I'll find a use for it someday. My unique skill is both incredibly strong, but strict conditions need to be met for its activation. I'm not sure how common unique skills are, but I sure hope they are rare, because if they are more common than I think, well, let's just say I'm gonna have a lot more trouble beating stronger demons. My unique skill is basically a cheat. There's no other way to say it. In the right circumstances I can easily see myself power leveling with it. Unique skill. Studious 1. Allows user to study any skill or magic in sight, and if sufficient understanding is reached, user can copy said magic or skill. Allows user to merge or separate skills into lesser or greater skills. One skill has been completely understood, as long as the user has sufficient magic heals. Once I discovered what my skill did, I laughed. As long as I used it wisely, I will be able to grow in strength quickly. The only downside is that I have to understand a skill to copy it. Hopefully I can get a skill that can help with that in the future. Though due to having to directly see the skill, I can't analyze a skill like Sage due to that skill not having any direct effects that I can see in the physical world, so skills similar to it will be uncopyable for me. After that I got into the skill collection business. Unfortunately that venture has not been going very well so far, as the demons I have been fighting have weak skills that I already have or no skills at all. Hopefully I will be able to fight stronger demons and gain stronger skills through them. Now I don't want to grow in strength for no reason. After all, what is the purpose of power if you don't have anything you want to use it for? I discovered that the fictional worlds from my first life are real. I was able to learn this once I realized what my intrinsic skill limitless was from. Now I don't remember my first life perfectly, it has been a long time after all, but I remember the general gist of a lot of anime and light novels. I was an avid enjoyer of those after all. Limitless was from an anime called Jujutsu Kaisen. Unfortunately I died before I could finish the Shibuya arc. Having Limitless made me realize that it was incredibly likely that I was reborn into the world of Jujutsu Kaisen in my second life, likely descended from the Goho clan itself, since Limitless is a curse technique of theirs. Along with the fact that I share some features with Goho Satoru himself, from my white hair to my blue eyes. Of course I don't have the 6 eyes, but still, that is a lot of similarities to be a coincidence. That gave me an existential crisis. I had questioned my place in the universe, or should I say multiverse now, but eventually I was able to move past it. I'll continue going at my own pace, and hopefully I'll do alright. Now my thought process was that if Jujutsu Kaisen is a world out there, then isn't there a good chance that other worlds I thought were fictional are also out there? From Marvel to DC, Naruto, Fairy Tail, One Piece, High School DxD, etc. If they are out there, then I want to see them with my own eyes. I want to watch as Luffy becomes Pirate King, as Naruto becomes Hokage, as Natsu reunites with his father. Sure, I saw some of those on screen, but seeing it in person is completely different. Not to mention the woman, lust is called a sin for a reason. Who knows, maybe I can make a harem for myself. No worries though, I'm not in a hurry. Moving on to the skill itself, Limitless is originally impossible to master without the 6 eyes, another unique ability of the Goho clan. It allows the user to see the flow of cursed energy, causing the user to perfectly understand the energy, and minimize the cost of any curse technique to minuscule amounts. Cursed energy is basically another form of supernatural energy, but a little different. But the difference doesn't matter in my case. It also allows the user to perfectly control their own cursed energy, which is needed if one wants to use Limitless effectively. My case is a little different, as instead of a curse technique, my Limitless is a skill. Skills and curse techniques do have some similarities, but they are innately different. Thanks to this I can learn how to effectively use Limitless without the ultra-precise control that the 6 eyes would grant me. Magic manipulation allows me to effectively control my own magic, along with other beings' magic. Sage increases my thought processing speed along with my comprehension. The combination of these is able to help me effectively use Limitless. The one issue I am having is the absurd magic heal cost to use Limitless. I can't use it for more than 45 minutes before I risk running out of magic heals, and that's pushing it, though hopefully this problem will solve itself as I grow in strength. Now Limitless has a few different ways it can be used. At its core, it brings the concept of infinity into reality. With it I can manipulate the space around me freely at an atomic level, depending on my mastery of the skill itself. Its most basic use, called infinity, is to essentially stop anything approaching me. It does this in a way similar to how convergent and divergent sequences work. Basically it divides the finite amount of space between the user and the approaching subject, and divides it an infinite number of times, and because no matter how many times you divide something it can never reach 0, they will be left as infinitesimal fractions which are immeasurable to the eye. It's due to this that anything that approaches the infinitely divided space that my skill creates appears to stop. It just slows down to the point that it is impossible to notice it moving. Using this principle I can create a few effects. Thankfully once I was able to get down how to use limitless, I was able to recreate its other abilities that I know of from Jujutsu Kaisen. There are two of these abilities. The first ability is blue. It allows me to attract things. I do this by supercharging limitless, which brings the conceptual impossibility of negative distance into reality. This causes the surrounding space to try and fill in the gap in space. I can use this to constrict the space around someone, which will crush their appendages or even destroy an entire village with it. Though to destroy a village I will have to expend over half of my magic heals. I can also use blue for high speed movement across short distances, which is useful in fights. The second ability is red. It allows me to do the opposite of blue with how I can repel anything instead of attract. I do this by bringing the divergence of infinity into reality, which creates the power to repel. I use this by manifesting a small red orb that can cause incredible amounts of damage, about twice as much as blue could, but that comes at a cost. I need to use most of my magic heals to use it, to the point that I will barely be able to stay conscious. I had to learn the hard way. Normally I wouldn't even be able to use red, as you originally need a special kind of energy to use it, but I can only assume I can use it, due to limitless becoming a skill. Therefore all of its abilities are unlocked but not mastered. The third ability is hollow purple. It combines both red and blue, which represents motion and reversal, a fusion of convergence and divergence that collides both infinites to generate imaginary mass. This effect can instantly erase anything in its path. I have no clue how much magic heals this would require, as I have not tried to use it yet. I am also able to use limitless to freely manipulate the space around me, but I haven't delved very deep into this aspect of the ability yet. I am just focusing on mastering the abilities that I know of. I also learned that I have a presence to myself when I changed my perception of magic sense and looked at myself. It was hard to describe. The aura itself feels like a miasma. It feels corruptive and evil. But I discovered a way to use this aura. I can use it to enhance my physical abilities in a fight, whether it is power, speed or durability. I can also use this aura to put pressure on someone. I've used this a few times on the demons. It makes the freeze in place for a moment, and that moment is all I need to end the fight. Overall my skills are incredibly useful. They're probably the only reason I am able to fight off these demons, due to them presumably not having nearly as many or as useful skills. I don't completely know why I was blessed with incredibly powerful skills, but I do have a theory. I believe it has to do with the soul. After all, if magic exists, then why can't souls? I notice the demons I have been fighting lack intelligence. They mostly rely on instinct, the instinct to fight, to hunt, to survive. Due to this maybe their souls aren't as developed as mine. I have lived 2 lives after all. I have intelligence and experience. That is only a theory though, at least until I can find information to prove or disprove it. Hopefully there's other intelligent life around, or else I'll probably go crazy with no one to interact with. I grin as I look at the large crater I just created. I was finally able to use atmospheric current control to manipulate lightning a little more finely, and create a lightning spear, instead of just simple and predictable lightning strikes. Due to this I gained a new common skill, lightning spear. It allows me to freely form lightning spear, and the best part is the size doesn't matter. As long as I have the mana to fuel it, I could make a lightning spear the size of a building. If a spear-sized lightning spear can cause this much damage, then how much would a stronger version do? Not to mention this skill will give me a better base for lightning manipulation. I decided to focus on lightning for a few reasons. 1, it is badass. 2, it has a lot of different uses. I assume if I master it well enough I can manipulate the electric currents in physical bodies. Unfortunately demons don't seem to have physical bodies. They are more like spirits if I were to describe them. I should also be able to coat my body in lightning, like the 4th Raikage in Naruto was able to do, for a comprehensive boost to my abilities. Hell, I can probably eventually learn to use a Chidori. I see lightning as a good investment, and who says I can't master other elements later? Now that I have lightning spear, let me see if I can finally get the lightning to do what I want it to. I start to form lightning spear, but instead of focusing it in a spear-like shape I try to bend it, forming an arc. It is much easier now that I have lightning spear, as I now know how to shape lightning in any way I want. Once the arc is sufficiently powered I launch it towards a nearby forest and watch the aforementioned destruction. Once the smoke clears I finally get to see the results, and I am not disappointed. A large chunk of the forest is cut in half. I see part of a tree stump still in the ground, while the top portions were destroyed. Common skill. Lightning arc acquired. Nice, glad that worked like I wanted it to. Now individually these skills might not add much to my power, but I'm hoping that once I master lightning manipulation to a certain level, I can get a skill for it like with magic manipulation. Who knows, maybe if I master lightning enough I can control the weather itself. I am able to manipulate the elements at a basic level, but not nearly enough to qualify for it to be called weather manipulation. There is also a side benefit to practicing my skills. The more I use my magic heals, the larger my magic heal pool gets. So by practicing magic and my skills, I am increasing my magic heal pool, which can only be a good thing. I continued to train my abilities until I master lightning art to a sufficient level. With that, I decided to finish up today's training and head back to the temporary cabin I created using material creation. I did have to expend a decent chunk of my magic for it, but it was worth it for the nice soft bed and pillow I made. I plan to stay at my current location for some time to practice my lightning magic in peace. Now that I have reached the goal I set for myself, I will probably end up leaving to continue to look for civilization. Maybe I should start practicing with a sword. I could use the extra challenge it will give at first, since killing the demons has been getting easier and easier. I focus the lightning I am gathering towards my legs. I ignore the pain and leap into the air, grinning as the lightning keeps flowing around my legs, giving me a speed boost. This is the first step to creating the lightning armor. For now, I will practice imbuing lightning into my legs, before I focus on other parts of my body. Thanks to pain resistance, I wasn't able to feel nearly as much as I would have without it. Common skill. Lightning movement acquired. Nice. Now that I have 4 lightning element skills, I use Studious 1 to merge them all together. Hopefully I can get something good. The acquired skills atmospheric current control, lightning spear, lightning arc, and lightning movement combine to evolve into extra skill. Lightning manipulation. Lightning resistance acquired. I start to cackle madly as this proves my theory that skills can combine to form superior skills. This means I can just farm common skills, and eventually they should fuse together once I master the skills enough. The only requirement is that I understand the skill. Who knows, maybe I can even fuse unique skills to create some sort of super skill eventually. My goal to travel to other worlds is looking possible now. I immediately jump into experimenting with my new skill, and holy, everything is so much easier with it. I can now form a barrage of lightning spears like Gilgamesh with his Gate of Babylon without a second thought. It requires far less focus. Manipulating lightning with lightning manipulation is like moving a limb I never knew I had. I immediately begin to gather lightning in my hand. I keep focusing more and more lightning, until I feel I have a sufficient amount. I ignore the high-pitched chirping as I run towards a boulder and pierce my hand through it. Common skill. Lightning jab acquired. I slowly disperse the lightning and pull my arm out of the boulder. There doesn't look like a lot of damage, but that is not the point of this move. Lightning jab is basically a chidori with a different name. It is mostly used for piercing targets, rather than causing mass amounts of destruction. Now that I know that I can easily use lightning jab, I decide to be a bit more daring and try out the lightning armor. Hopefully with lightning manipulation it won't be too difficult to do. I focus on slowly gathering lightning and wrapping it around my body. I ignore the slight tingles I feel and continue to gather more lightning. I make sure not to gather too much as I have not mastered this ability yet, and don't want to hurt myself unnecessarily. Once I have enough, I sprint forward and zoom at speeds I have never gone at before. I blur past the nearby forest, and as I gather more and more lightning, I go faster and faster before I finally start to disperse the lightning and slow down. I smile to myself as I finally was able to learn how to use the lightning armor, though I am surprised that there is no skill for it. I was able to figure out the more magicules and lightning I gather, the faster I become. It also has a side benefit of enhancing my reaction time, which will be useful in a fight. The speed will also allow me to navigate the surrounding area much quicker. Hopefully with this I can find civilization a little sooner. I am going stir crazy after not having any social interaction in so long. I was even debating trying to tame a demon and keep it as a pet, but gave up once I realized that they would just constantly rebel as they are just animals of instinct, and while instinct can cause them to be submissive for a time, it won't last long. I continue to practice lightning manipulation, creating a few useful tricks I can use in a fight. First off, I can freely discharge lightning from my hand, Palpatine style. That should be able to paralyze most of the demons I have been encountering for a few seconds, more than long enough for me to finish them off. I also learned to imbue lightning into a katana I created using material creation. This lets me send out a slash of lightning, if I choose to, whenever I swing, along with adding extra piercing and cutting power to each swing. The katana itself is quite sturdy as I used half of my magicules to create it, since I didn't want it breaking on me mid-fight. Unfortunately, I had to learn that the hard way when I first used a katana against a demon. I created it with just enough magicules to form, but it easily broke when I swung it at a demon. After that I learned my lesson and created a much more sturdy katana. I quickly used my lightning armor and took off into the forest. I blurred past trees, rocks, and some weaker demons, before finally coming to a stop near a waterfall. I notice a cave that I entered to rest for a little bit in. I need some time to think and consider my options. I had sensed a powerful aura south from my current location for a brief moment before it disappeared. The aura itself was not just strong, but incredibly strong, to the point that I don't want to go near them. It was at least 10 times stronger than me, maybe more. That makes me incredibly wary of going near its location. On one hand, it could be an intelligent being, on the other hand it might not be, or worse, it might be intelligent and still decide to kill me. I know I can't fight it off and I will likely have a hard time running away, and who knows if it has unique skills. It was also able to hide its presence, meaning it could be anywhere now. I had vastly overestimated my place in the food chain here. I thought I was strong, but now it seems like I am a frog in a well. And that makes me worried. What if there are even stronger demons than the ones I discovered? Who knows how strong the truly mighty ones are? Before I can continue my thoughts, I get a bad feeling through danger sense, and this feeling is the worst one I have ever felt. The warning didn't come soon enough as I was stabbed through my stomach. I cough out blood as I quickly dodge another incoming attack. I quickly activate magic sense, and am horrified by the amount of demons around me. The most I have dealt with at once is 3, and even then I was only successful because of limitless. It was foolish of me to not use magic sense to check the surrounding area. I was so panicked about the stronger demon that I completely lost sight of myself. I quickly form lightning spear and send it towards where I sense the closest demon. I hear a loud cry as one of the demons die. I use this chance to leave the cave with blue, which allows for short distance teleportation, in order to have a better chance of fighting the demons off. I grunt as I try my best to ignore the pain and take my sword out of its sheath to prepare to fight the demons off. I watch as 29 demons come out of the cave and curse. The demons try to circle me, which means they have some intelligence. Limitless. I use infinity as a safety net of swords to cover me, in case I let an attack hit me, as I don't think I can focus on dodging attacks from all 5 demons. I quickly form as many lightning spears as I can and send them towards the demons before they can fully surround me. Surprisingly, they react quickly enough that my lightning spears don't kill any of them, though 2 did take some damage. 15 of them quickly take to the skies while 14 stay on the ground. I decide to fly, since I don't want to allow them any more advantages over me. Infinity will take care of dealing with the magic that the demons on the ground are sending towards me, leaving me to focus on the ones flying around me. I debate on using red to try and wipe them all out, but on the off chance it doesn't take all of them out, I will be left helpless even with my improved magical pools. I decide to use my lightning armor as I need all the help I can get. The increase in speed will be worth the increased pain from my stab wound. I ignore the spells coming at me, and quickly fly towards the nearest demon, and send a slash towards its head, which it unfortunately dodges. I use the momentum of the slash to curve my blade back down and take off its left arm. The demon screams in anger and pain as it charges towards me, ignoring the possible danger. I use this chance to avoid its charge and cut its head off. That leaves 29 of them left. I don't have much time left. Limitless is taking up a large chunk of my magicules, but I can't afford to stop using Limitless as it is stopping all the attacks from reaching me. I notice there are 17 fireballs, and 6 fire spears caught in Infinity's barrier. I smirk as I send all of them back towards the demons on the ground and watch as all 14 of them die. I actually have a chance. Suddenly I felt dizzy and fell to the ground, wondering why Limitless didn't protect me. Cough cough. I covered my mouth and saw blood, much more than there should be. Poison. Fuck, the bastard must have coated his sword with it. Limitless must have disabled due to not having enough magicules to sustain it, due to my magicules working overtime to try and combat the poison. Fuck, I wasn't able to notice it due to being too focused. Wahaha, you die now. What? I quickly looked towards where the voice came from and noticed another demon that was hiding behind the others. How? I didn't sense him before. Was he able to hide his presence? Is he that demon I sensed earlier? No, he is weaker. The demon slowly approached me, seeming confident in his victory. If only I could program Limitless to automatically detect an incoming threat, this wouldn't have happened. Fuck. I try to get up but fail. My body won't listen to me. Is this it? Do I deserve this? To die twice. To be taken away from my home twice. Fuck, where is my luck now, fortunate one? Fuck, this is scary. Am I going to die? No. I refuse. I will not be fodder in this world. I will rise to the top. I still have one option. I lift my head up and slowly lift my right arm up and point it in the demon's direction. It becomes wary and prepares to dodge, but my arm falls down. It grins as it continues walking towards me at its languid pace. What it doesn't know is that I did that on purpose. I subtly shift my left arm and aim my hand towards the demon, and gather up enough magicules to use blue. I keep pushing more and more magicules. Even when I feel like I am about to drop dead, I continue. I smile as I whisper, "Blue." My head falls down as I hear the demon try to dodge out of the way, but it's too late. The space around the demon constricted, crushing it. At least I beat it. And then I blacked out. Conditions for evolution have been met. Commencing evolution. Death resistance acquisition successful. Poison resistance acquisition successful. Paralysis resistance acquisition successful. Spiritual attack resistance acquisition successful. Fear resistance acquisition successful. Extra skill. Program granted. Extra skill. Sage has evolved into unique skill. Curse Sage. Extra skill. Program has been absorbed into unique skill. Curse Sage. Evolution to greater demon complete. Demonic core has been strengthened. He looked down at the boy who had lost consciousness after his battle. He evolved. He has been looking for this lesser demon as it had attacked him with his underlings, thinking it could get lucky. When he had arrived he had heard the sounds of a fight going on and decided to observe, and boy was he surprised, another otherworlder reincarnated as a demon, just like him. That was the only possible explanation, as no lesser demon has the skills nor intelligence that this demon showed. He had always wondered if there were others out there like him in the demon realm, but had never found another reincarnated demon. Sure, there were some in the material world, but down here in the spiritual world, nope. It gave him hope that maybe he wouldn't have to be alone any longer. He tried to make friends with the other demons, but they just weren't like him. He might have become a monster after all his time in the demon realm, but there will always be a part of him that was human once upon a time. He would have stepped in to help the kid out, and was about to just before the kid used his blue, as he called it. He rushed to check his condition. He didn't want the only reincarnated demon he found to die in front of him after all. He was poisoned and running low on magicules. The magicules would recover over time. Now he had to deal with the poison. He quickly analyzed the boy's condition. It was a weak poison meant to immobilize. He would heal. All he needs is a bit of rest. He used one of his unique skills, spatial severing, to sever the space between their location and his cabin. It allows him to freely manipulate space, even allowing him to bypass any barriers someone casts using space itself. Once they arrived, he used his unique skill isolate to isolate the space of his cabin from the outside world. Once he was confident they were safe, he laid the boy down on a bed to rest. The boy was a monster in terms of magicules. The amount he is giving off in his current state is about as much as he has after all his years living as a demon. That is incredibly impressive considering he has the advantage of having eaten the souls of some demi-humans before. Chapter 2. Demon Realm. I woke up with a jolt. You're up it seems. A voice said from beside me. You don't seem to be poisoned anymore, so that's good. I didn't want to have to go ask another demon to heal you. Who knows what they would have asked for. I looked to my side to see a black-haired male sitting on a chair next to me. He had red skin and horns coming out of his head. His face was quite humanoid, though unlike the rest of the demons. He's also able to speak, maybe another reincarnation. No, better not to get my hopes up. That other demon was also able to talk. I should be careful. My body was feeling much better now, so I got up and prepared to fend off any attacks he sends my way just in case. Yes, the poison was flushed out of your system, and your evolution mostly healed you of your injuries, but you still need some time to get back to peak condition. I stared at him as I processed his words. Evolution. Can demons evolve? What did I evolve into? I do feel a lot stronger than I previously was. I clench my fists and can feel how much stronger I've gotten physically, multiple times even, and magicule-wise I have multiple times more than previously. If evolving can make this big of a difference, who knows what else it can do. Could I regain my old physical looks by evolving? Taking a closer look at my body, I notice quite a few changes. My body shape is far more human in stature. I touch my face, and it feels far more human-shaped rather than the animal head I had previously, though I do still have my horns. I also feel my ears change. They are more pointy, almost elf-like. My arms are longer than natural, and I still have goat legs, but I can't get the happy grin off my face. Maybe one more evolution and I will get an even more humanoid look. Ah yes, you did look quite different before your evolution. Lesser demons often look the most demonic in their base forms, while the higher you evolve the more humanoid your looks become. I temporarily pushed his words to the back of my mind. Who are you? He raised his arms in the air to show that he meant no harm. I mean no harm. I'm like you, an otherworlder reincarnated as a demon. An otherworlder. And there are others like me. Excuse me, but why did you decide to help me? I couldn't help but ask. It never hurt to be cautious. Simple curiosity. I have never run into another reincarnated demon before. It doesn't hurt to have someone similar to me to talk to. I was also curious about your unique skill. I looked at him warily. How did he know I had a unique skill? Does he have one as well? Hey, don't look at me like that, boy. Almost all otherworlders have a unique skill that they gain when crossing over worlds. I see. Thank you for answering. How did you end up finding me? I was chasing after those lesser demons you were fighting after they failed to ambush me, came upon you fighting them off, and decided to watch and help out, if it seemed like you couldn't handle it, though it seems like that wasn't necessary. There's that name again, lesser demon. Am I one of them, or rather was I one of them? Answer. Correct, host evolved from a lesser demon into a greater demon. That voice. Who is it? Answer. It is the effect of your unique skill, Cursed Sage. Cursed Sage. Are you the evolution of Sage? Affirmative. I decide to talk to my skill later once I have some time alone. The man started to walk out of the room. Get some rest. You need it if you want to fully recover. I decide to heed his words for now and close my eyes and think. What can you do, Cursed Sage? Answer. Sub-skills include thought acceleration, analytical appraisal, parallel operation, chant annulment, all of creation, and program. I see, though acceleration is a skill I had access to with Sage, only a much weaker version than what I now have access to. This version accelerates my thoughts by an astounding rate of 1000x. Analytical appraisal will pair perfectly with Studious One, as it allows me to analyze and appraise a target, allowing me to easily fulfill Studious One's requirements for copying skills. Parallel operation allows me the ability to detach my analysis of phenomena from my thoughts. Basically, it allows me to analyze something and fight a converse at the same time. Chant annulment allows me to use any magic that I learn without the required chant. All creation allows me to comprehend anything as long as I have a basic understanding of it, and it is perceivable to me. This will also pair quite well with Studious One. Program allows me to program one thing for my subconscious to keep track of. Basically, I can use this to automate infinity, so it can always be active now that I have enough magicules to keep it running. I can also allow Curse Sage to pilot my body, allowing it access to all my abilities. While in this state, Curse Sage can perfectly analyze the situation and follow the best course of action. In a fight, this would be like it attacking at the perfect nanosecond, defending at the perfect nanosecond, etc. As long as there is a way to win, Curse Sage will be able to achieve it. Overall, this will be a big help to my abilities. Hopefully with this I can copy skills much more easily. Unique skill. Isolate has been analyzed. Unique skill. Isolate gained. Where did that come from? Answer. Host is currently in an isolated dimension created by unique skill. Isolate was analyzed and copied using Studious One. I see, this must be that man's unique skill. I will have to figure out what to do now that I have copied his skill. I closed my eyes and decided to sleep as I was still mentally exhausted. If this man wanted to hurt me, he would have done it long before I woke up. I woke up after a few hours had passed. I look around and notice that the man isn't here. He must have gone out for something. I get up and take this time to look around. The room itself is quite comfortable looking. It has everything you need: a bed, a couch, some cabinets. As I am walking around, I see what you can call a gap in space form, sort of like a portal, and watch the man walk through and take a seat on the couch. Unique skill. Spatial severing analyzed. Unique skill. Spatial severing gained. He must have used that to teleport here. Interesting. The skill will definitely be useful. The skill allows me to basically sever space. I can use it to sever the space between two locations, allowing me to teleport. I can also use this to directly cut space apart and cut through barriers quite easily. I can basically cut through almost anything using this skill, as long as I have enough magicules to power it. I focus back on the man and see him make a gesture to the seat across from him, understanding what he wants. I take a seat. So what do you want to do from now on? There aren't a lot out there like us, let alone in the demon realm. There's that term again, the demon realm. Might as well get as much information as I can. Before I make a decision, could you explain to me what the demon realm is exactly? Is it a place for the damned to get tortured? And what about that term you used earlier, lesser demon? Oh yes, you haven't met any other intelligent demons, have you? Well, the demon realm is as it sounds, a realm for demons to reside in. That doesn't explain all that much, but it is enough for now. Is there a way to get out of here? I ask, probably the most important question. I am getting sick and tired of wandering around with no place to go. This guy said that there are others like us out there, other reincarnators. Maybe there are cities out there with civilization. There's only one way out of here, by getting summoned to the material realm and occupying a body. If you don't mind, could you explain all the common knowledge about this world? Hopefully he doesn't ask for payment, as I am not sure what I can give that he can't already get himself. I will, on one condition. Hopefully it isn't anything too big. Tell me about the world you came from. That wasn't what I was expecting. I agree, and that's the start of our friendship of sorts. It's been a few months since I met the old man. It's been an eventful few months. I learned a lot about the new world I find myself in, along with some other things. Traveling with the old man has been enjoyable. I needed some time to just relax, instead of worrying about other demons and the world I find myself in. After I told the old man most of my story, he talked about himself. He was from the United States, and he was summoned during relatively peaceful times for his world. He said technology was starting to spread all around the world. When he was 19 years old, he died to a bunch of thugs that were high on some drugs. Presumably all they wanted was his money, likely to buy their next high, but things got out of hand, and they beat the old man to death. Pretty gruesome. I theorize that we get unique skills based on our willpower and desires. We influence the world around us with powerful desires that turn into unique skills. When I reincarnated, I was lamenting that all my effort and hard work had gone to waste, so I got Studious One, an ability that allows me to essentially copy others' works to make up for all that I had lost. Whereas the old man likely got isolate. He was scared, just wanted to feel safe, somewhere he couldn't be hurt anymore, and his wish was granted. He got a skill that allows him to protect himself from the world around him. Skills are truly something amazing. What other sort of skills are out there? Considering each unique skill is, unique, there are endless possibilities. Maybe there's a skill out there that allows for world travel. I also learned a lot about the demon realm, which is a lot more complicated than I thought it would be. The demon realm is a spiritual world, so there are no physical elements. I myself don't have a physical body, my current body is made up of magicules. There are other realms out there like material worlds that have no spiritual elements, which means no supernatural energy. Then there are demi-material worlds out there like the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, which contain both physical and spiritual elements. We demons are primarily summoned to a demi-material world, but due to not having a physical body we can't survive long up there. If we want to stay we need to find a body to possess, which is where my intrinsic skill spiritual possession comes in. Demons can be summoned by anyone as long as they have enough power to summon us. Oftentimes we are summoned to do tasks for our summoners for a cost, whether it is to kill someone or even destroy kingdoms in some cases. In return we can ask for whatever price we feel our service is worth. Souls are by far the most desired for demons, as when we consume someone's soul, we gain all their skills and a significant power boost. If the soul is strong enough we can even evolve. Evolution is something all demons desire as life in the demon realm is harsh. If you are weaker than someone, then you are screwed if they want to harm you. The ranks go from lesser demon, greater demon, then finally, archdemon. There might be more ranks, but the old man was only aware of those three. Lesser demons are the mindless beasts that I have been killing. They generally have an animal-like head and lower half. They boast enough power to destroy a village if left unchecked. They have the iconic traits of demons like wings, claws, a tail, and some horns. After that are greater demons like myself and the old man. We have a more humanoid appearance. We still have wings, horns, and claws, but we can choose to hide them. We still do have some animal traits, like I myself still have goat-like legs, and my arms are unnaturally long, but according to the old man that's normal. The higher up in the totem pole you are, the more human you look. Greater demons are capable of destroying entire cities. It's hard to believe that I can do that. Greater demons also have a solid ego, allowing them to converse and interact with others. The lesser demon that almost killed me was likely on the verge of evolving into a greater demon. Greater demons also have a specific color lineage based on their personality traits. Each color lineage has a progenitor, each a complete monster that can wipe the floor with any challengers, no matter the numbers or rank. The next evolution is archdemon. They are incredibly strong. According to the old man, each wields enough power to destroy a country at minimum. According to the old man, archdemons possess an almost completely human form. The only non-human features they have are the claws, wings and horns all demons have, but they can just hide them. It was quite humbling to realize how powerless I am in front of the truly strong beings out there. Archdemons also generally have their own territories, though they are less territories and more like playgrounds. They generally just do whatever they want in their territories, whether that is slaughtering other demons, causing mass destruction for no real reason, or just keeping to themselves. There isn't really any sort of society in the demon realm. The only rule is every man for themselves. You can tell how much strength matters down here. Thankfully the archdemon that rules the area we are in right now is relatively peaceful, as long as they aren't disturbed. Archdemons, just like greater demons, also belong to a specific color lineage. There are 7 colors. Red, generally prideful demons are part of this lineage. Yellow, I am not sure what traits you must have to be part of this lineage, as I only know what the old man told me. Green belongs to demons who are generally calculating and always weighing the costs and benefits of a decision. Blue demons value order. They don't particularly like complete anarchy, which surprised me, as you know, they are demons. Purple demons enjoy seeing others struggle or in pain, especially if they overcome their struggles and come out stronger for it. Then there's white. I don't really know anything about them, unfortunately, something I will need to rectify at some point. Then finally black, my and the old man's lineage. These demons generally don't fit into any other category. They're the weirdos who can't be predicted based on their color. You can tell what lineage someone is a part of by observing them. Sometimes their hair color will match their lineage, other times it will be their sclera or other features. Now there are 7 primordials, each belonging to a specific color. They each have names, but they are more like titles. There is Rogue, who is the primordial of red. He hasn't been in the demon realm for thousands of years. He was summoned and never came back. Then there is Verd and Blue, the primordials of green and blue respectively, who followed after Rogue as they were his servants. Talk about a complete monster to be able to have 2 other primordials as servants. Then there is John, the primordial of yellow, Violet the primordial of purple, Blanc the primordial of white, and finally my own primordial, Noir the primordial of black. Each of the primordials were born before anything existed. They have been around since before heaven and earth were even thought of. Each one of them has likely forgotten more magical knowledge than most archdemons will ever hear of. I have a long way to go to truly be considered strong in this world. I have made some progress in that pursuit. After some time I told the old man about my ability to copy skills. It might have been a stupid choice, but it was the one I felt was right. I didn't feel good sneakily copying the old man's skills behind his back, and that decision proved to be the correct one. The old man laughed when I told him, as he said that I needed all the help I could get if I wanted to accomplish my dream, and that I shouldn't be worried as it is my own unique ability. Not using it for a reason such as that is the height of stupidity. Looking back at it, I agree. I guess I just didn't want to lose the one person I can consider a friend after so long. I did also tell him that I wanted to explore other worlds, go on an adventure. He said that I needed more than just being able to copy skills to accomplish my dream, I needed knowledge, technique. After he found out about my skill, he started teaching me magic upon my request, and boy was I thankful I asked. There are so many different types of arts out there that I hadn't even thought of. Arts are basically anything performed without the use of skills like martial arts and magic. You can use skills to make arts, however. Generally, magic performed through an art is weaker than magic used through a skill. Knowing all this, I was eager to learn. He started by teaching me the basics, elemental magic. Now there are 5 basic elements: fire, water, wind, space, and earth. Each is strong and weak to a specific element. Not sure where the time element is, as that is usually paired with space. Normally you need to use a chant to use magic, but thanks to Cursed Sage's sub-skill chant annulment, I don't have that requirement. I already had a pretty good grasp over elemental magic, that along with Cursed Sage and Studious One, made it quite easy to learn elemental magic. After that he told me about spirit magic, magic that borrows the power of spirits. With spirit magic, you essentially borrow the power of the spirit, using a small amount of your own energy as a catalyst. I wasn't able to learn any spirit magic as the old man didn't know any. There were a few other magics that I was able to copy, but don't see myself using, like illusion magic, light magic, which rather than something that harms evil creatures is more literal, it is used to illuminate your surroundings. There were however a few magics that did interest me. The first of which was summoning magic. It is a type of magic that focuses on summoning a being from another plane of reality. It requires mastery of spatial magic to perform, and while I wouldn't say I am anywhere close to mastering it, I do have 3 unique skills that heavily involve the spatial element. It is primarily used to summon demons from the demon realm, and can even be used to summon elementals, a type of spirit, and monsters. The thing that got me hooked though was the last thing it is known for: summoning otherworlders. It requires a massive amount of magicules, but it is possible to summon people from other worlds with this magic. This got me thinking, if it can summon someone from another world, is there a way it can be used to send someone to another world? Of course if I could. I don't plan to do it immediately. Who knows what world I could be sent to? Who knows, I might just be sent to the void and die a horrible death. It obviously needs testing, but it does give me hope that I can venture to other worlds. A few more useful magics are creation magic and optical magic. Optical magic basically enhances my vision as if I was looking through binoculars, while the only creation magic spell I have learned so far is Create Golem. It allows me to make a golem as long as I have the materials, allowing me to have easy workers whenever I get to the demi-material realm. I can also use it to create a body I can inhabit. Onto my more defensive magic, I learned barrier magic. It is one of the most interesting kinds of magic I have learned about, simply due to all of its variations. I was even able to learn a skill, extra skill. Ranged barrier, which allows me to cast a barrier up to 100 meters that can be imbued with any one of my resistances. For example, I could imbue my thermal fluctuation resistance into the barrier, basically making all spells that involve changing the temperature useless. The old man also showed me some other more useful barrier magic, starting with magic barrier. It can protect the caster and their comrades from incoming magic, not something I really need seeing as I have other abilities that can deal with magic, but useful nonetheless. The next barrier is the anti-shock area. This barrier reduces up to 99% of all physical damage in the barrier up to a certain limit. Quite useful if you ask me. Now the most shocking one was the anti-magic area. As the name sounds, it prevents all casting of magic inside the barrier. It basically prevents the world's natural laws from being overwritten in the barrier, and overriding the world's natural laws is basically what skills and magic do. It does cost quite a significant amount of magicules to put up, but still one of the most broken magics I've heard of. Due to the nature of an anti-magic area, it can even prevent skills like my lightning manipulation from being used. Some skills and abilities can be used in the barrier like magic sense, as it is not twisting the laws of nature, it simply interacts with light and sound waves to calculate visual and auditory information. The old man was able to learn about it when he was summoned to the demi-material realm. He helped some adventurers survive against a monster they stood no chance against for all the magical knowledge they possessed, which while not much he did learn the anti-magic area spell. I wasn't able to practice this as it would make me powerless as I don't have a physical form. I am a being purely made out of magicules. Though whenever I get a physical body it will be a fun magic to use. Just imagine this in a world like Fairy Tail or High School DxD. What can even Swordsmanship's Lucifer do when he can't even use his power of destruction? Barrier magic is definitely one of my favorites due to its sheer potential. After all, if an anti-magic barrier can exist, then who knows what other absurd types of barriers you can make. I was also able to learn a few debuff and buff spells. If you've ever played in MMO, you know how useful debuffs and buffs can be. Starting with Drain Power, which allows you to drain the physical strength of an enemy, along with Slowing Magic, which allows you to reduce the momentum of a target. This will be quite useful against opponents who are faster than me. For buffs, I learned spells that can boost my strength, agility, and durability. While these buffs won't help me fight against an opponent I am outmatched against, they will be useful in giving me an edge against challenging opponents that I am capable of defeating. Gravity magic is another magic I am learning. I was able to learn a few basic applications of it, like increasing pressure, decreasing pressure, and flying. I gained a common skill for mastering flying using gravity magic called gravity flight. It allows me to float in the air naturally without the use of my wings or magicules through making use of the natural gravity waves. Since it doesn't manipulate the natural laws of the world, I can even use it in an anti-magic area. Hopefully with enough practice I can gain a skill that allows me to manipulate gravity much more freely, and assuming that it interacts with gravity the same way as gravity flight, I should also be able to use it in an anti-magic area. Maybe I can even pull Madara and bring a meteor down. He made that shit a fad. One of the most destructive magics I've learned is nuclear magic. It's basically the practice of manipulating incredibly dense balls of black flames called abyss cores, capable of interfering with spiritrons. Spiritrons are basically the building blocks of spiritual energies, including magicules. Think of it like this: spiritrons are the atoms while magicules are the molecules. Spiritrons are the smallest particle of any spiritual energy. A single magicule is made of multiple spiritrons. There are a few variations of nuclear magic, but I was only able to learn two: nuclear cannon and nuclear flame. Nuclear cannon is basically just a heat ray that can completely destroy a target, while nuclear flame is an thermonuclear explosion. The old man said there was tons of other magic out there. He was only able to learn what he did after centuries of being a demon. I'm looking forward to developing some new forms of barrier magic and nuclear magic. Both seem to be incredibly useful, and it sounds fun making my own spells. I was also able to learn something similar to presence concealment. It allows me to conceal the aura I'm always leaking, so to someone's senses, it'll feel like I'm not there. Using this I can make others think I'm weaker than I actually am. Battle will is something else I am learning about. It's basically a family of arts that use the natural aura all living beings have. Using battle will you can perform powerful physical attacks alongside things that resemble magic. Since battle will isn't any sort of magic or ability that affects the natural laws, it can be used in an anti-magic barrier. I was able to learn a few different applications of battle will, the first being air flight. When used in combination with my wings and gravity flight, it enhances my speed significantly. Or shield is another application. It basically makes a large defensive shield in front of me that can block both magical and physical attacks. There are a few other variations I want to learn, but I'm holding off on for now as they are mostly sword arts, and seeing as I don't truly know how to properly use a sword, I thought I should wait until I learn. Along with all the arts the old man taught me, I was also able to learn a few skills he thought would be useful. Starting with the common skill. Body armor. It basically allows me to form a shell-like substance harder than steel around my body to act as an armor. I can also use it on individual body parts if I desire. It isn't the most broken skill, but it's useful. The next skill I picked up was the extra skill. Spatial storage. It basically allows me to store things away in a subspace of sorts. It likely isn't going to see much use until I get out of the demon realm, seeing as it's a spiritual world. Spatial motion is another extra skill I copied. It allows me instantaneous travel by linking 2 points in space together with a gate and stabilizing it. The only requirements are that I either had to have been to the location I want to teleport to or know its coordinates. It does take quite a large amount of magicules to use though. The last extra skill I was able to learn was thought communication. It basically allows me to telepathically communicate with multiple people. I was also able to take limitless to the next level using Cursed Sage. I did something similar to what Goho Satori did. Using program I was able to make Cursed Sage discern an object's danger level, based on the strength of its magicules, its mass, velocity, and its shape, and depending on those factors it will not allow something through infinity. This allows me to keep limitless almost perpetually active with minimal magicule usage. I also don't need to worry about my brain being fried, as Cursed Sage is the one doing most of the work. What an amazing skill it is. Along with this I have also developed a habit to keep magic sense on at all times. It barely uses up any magicules. Hopefully with this I won't be caught off guard like last time. I have also been working on using limitless in more creative ways. Limitless at its core allows the user to manipulate and distort space at will. Blue, red and purple are just different applications of this ability. I am already able to do short distance teleportation, so I tried something a bit more difficult, something I call distance reduction. The concept was for me to reduce the distance between two targets. If I was able to learn this, I would be able to effectively strike someone from a distance away. Unfortunately I wasn't able to learn this just yet. It seemed such advanced use of spatial manipulation was beyond me for now, so I tried something a bit easier. I tried pinching space as if it was rubber, then pulled it back and released it. It generated an absurd amount of force, to the point that it can easily wipe out entire groups of lesser demons. Using this concept, I was able to come up with a few other interesting ways to use spatial manipulation, like distorting the space in a certain area, and then releasing it to shatter whatever it can reach. Spatial manipulation can do some absurd things, all it needs is a bit of creativity. Thankfully I have the I'm from my first life to lean on. Who knows, maybe I can make something similar to Kamui. Hollow Purple was another ability of Limitless I was finally able to get down. Hollow Purple is basically a fusion of blue and red, a fusion of convergence and divergence that collides both infinites to generate imaginary mass. When something is touched by Hollow Purple, it is essentially erased from reality. Using this technique I could wipe out a few cities in a single attack. The only downside is the absurd cost of magicules required to use it, almost 1/3 of my total magicule capacity, which is a lot. Along with all the abilities I learned, the old man also taught me a lot about the world itself. Starting with demon lords and heroes. Demon lords are each incredibly strong monsters that rule a territory of some sort. Each officially recognized demon lord is part of the Demon Lord Council. The members change over time. According to the old man, the last time he was summoned the members were Guy Crimson, the leader of the Demon Lord Council, as well as the Primordial of Red, Milm Nava, Ramrus the Fairy Queen. These three are known as the Ancient Demon Lords. They were the first to ever hold the title of Demon Lord. The rest of the Demon Lords are Dagrul the Giant, Dino a Fallen Angel, Roy Valentine the King of Vampires, Kazalim, Carrion a Lycanthrope, basically a beast man, Free Queen of Harpies, and Clayman. All of the Demon Lords are named monsters. Names aren't as simple as they were in my previous life. The only way to describe it is that for monsters, names have power in this world. In order to name a monster, you generally need to be significantly stronger than the person you want to name. Sometimes you can even lose a significant amount of your power if you aren't strong enough. Naming someone forms a connection between the namer and the named, whether that is as master and servant, friend and friend, sibling and sibling, etc. When a monster is named, they also generally get a large power boost, sometimes even evolving and gaining new skills. Presumably if I was named, I would likely evolve into an archdemon. Heroes are basically people who are revered by others due to their heroic deeds. The old man didn't know much else about them. There were a few places I wanted to visit, like the armed nation of Dworgen, and Sorcerer's Dynasty Sarian, a nation of elves. The world is extremely vast. Before I even attempt to travel to other worlds, I want to see this world a bit more. There are all sorts of monsters and demi-humans out there. Dragons, demons, angels, spirits, vampires, dwarves, elves, orcs, goblins, ogres, giants, basically all types of fantasy creatures. Certain races are stronger or weaker against each other. For example, demons are strong against angels, angels are strong against spirits, and spirits are strong against demons. I feel a thought communication and answered. Boy brat, get over here, time to teach you some real swordsmanship. It's embarrassing watching you swing a blade around. Yeah. Well, time to learn some swordsmanship, I guess. I put my sword away as I sit down and catch my breath. It's been a little while since the old man started teaching me swordsmanship, and man was he tough on me. Even with my enhanced stamina I am exhausted. You've gotten better. I'm no longer embarrassed whenever I see you swinging around a sword at the very least. Buzz off, old man. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some rest. Alright. Sigh, with that over with I can finally relax a bit. The old man might be hard on me, but I know it's for my own good. The world out there is treacherous. The old man wants to teach me all he can before we eventually part ways. He has his own goals and dreams and can't always be with me. I can tell the time we separate is approaching. He wants to find somewhere to settle down, live in peace until he dies. It might be a rather simple dream, but I can respect it. At least all this training wasn't for nothing. I can use a sword pretty well now, and I'll only get better with time. The style of swordsmanship the old man taught me is something a friend of his taught him. It's called the hazy style or the hazy livestream style. The old man said that his friend was a reincarnation similar to us, though he comes from the world that us demons get summoned to rather than the modern world like me and the old man. The hazy style is a family of sword arts that use aura-centric techniques designed to fight monsters. So far the old man said that I'm quite advanced with the hazy style, but that I have a long way to go before truly being considered a master of it. That didn't discourage me, it only did the opposite. I was astounded at how far you can take swordsmanship. The things the old man was able to do with a blade were incredible. Even then he said he isn't as good as his friend, and he has been practicing for centuries. I was able to learn a few different applications of battle will that are meant to be used with swordsmanship. Aura slash is one of the most basic battle will techniques. You basically launch your aura outwards from your weapon as a projectile. It may be basic, but it's still deadly. The next thing I worked on was Aura Sword. Basically the user coats their weapon in aura using Medelwill, which boosts the durability and damage of the weapon drastically. Medelwill is another technique that focuses on making constructs out of aura. It can even be used to contain objects, magic, and skills. I still have a long way to go with both magic and swordsmanship, but I am looking forward to my progress. As I fly back to the cabin we have been staying at, I ponder what else I can do to get stronger. I was able to evolve ranged barrier into multi-layer barrier. It basically allows me to create multiple barriers, each having a different resistance, so I can make one large barrier with multiple resistances. The skill evolved when I decided to try making multiple ranged barriers with different resistances. This won't be enough though. I still need to get stronger. I'm still the old man's lesser when it comes to swordsmanship, though my magical ability far outstrips his due to Curse Sage and all my other unique skills. As I arrive and walk through the door, I notice that the old man isn't here. Odd, he said that he was going to go out today, but that he should be back. As I look around, I notice a letter sitting on the table. I approach the table and a bad feeling starts to form in the pit of my stomach. He wouldn't. Would he? I read the note and set it down on the table. The old man left. He said that he taught me everything he could, and that it was time for him to leave and let me grow on my own. He said that we would meet again and that I shouldn't slack on my swordsmanship. Sigh, I knew the time was coming, but seriously, leaving a note. What the fuck, man? I can't even go after him since he is long gone by now. I decide to take some rest to process everything. I fly back as I dodge a magicule-coated fist, wondering why this keeps happening to me. Ah, get over here, is running all you can do? It's been a few weeks since the old man left. I don't know exactly how long, as I don't have a way to tell time, but ever since then I have been running into other demons like crazy. It seems like they were afraid of two greater demons, so they didn't attack earlier, but the moment they saw an opportunity they struck. Thankfully it hasn't been that difficult. I alone am capable of fighting off multiple greater demons, so it hasn't been that bad. Can't complain too much about getting some more combat experience. I decide to end the fight here. I point my right hand toward the greater demon as I charge up blue. Most greater demons can be dealt with using a single blue. I watch as the greater demon tries to fly out of the way, but I don't let him as I use spatial manipulation to hold him in place. Sure, I could easily finish him off in a multitude of ways, but I like using my more spatially focused skills. Something about them just calls out to me. I watch as the greater demon is compressed into nothingness. Well, that's that. It's been a boring few weeks. I've mostly just been following a routine consisting of fighting and training, not much else to do around here. I need something to push me in order to evolve. I'm not sure when I will find a greater demon that can challenge me, and fuck fighting an archdemon, those guys would absolutely destroy me. It seems my only hope for evolution is getting summoned. I do have a plan to stay in the demi-material world for whenever I get summoned. I can use creation magic to make a golem in the form of a skeleton to possess. It likely won't be very high tier, but it will at least prevent me from running out of magicules to sustain myself. I just have to play the waiting game to put my plan in action. Over the next few days I continue to follow my routine. I decide to focus more on training, as that will give me more benefits. Fights have started to become less and less rewarding. Greater demons are quite rare after all. Once I finished off the initial wave of greater demons, they almost stopped appearing entirely. They likely fled thinking they couldn't beat me, so all I am left with is the weak lesser demons. I lay down on my bed after training. That's when something happened. I felt a tugging sort of sensation. That could only mean one thing. The summoning. I could feel the summoner's call for aid and am forcefully pulled along. Being summoned is a unique sensation. All of a sudden I appear in a forest of some kind. I notice a pale-looking boy staring at me with hope. That's when I notice an aura approaching, something strong. I quickly move out of the way as I sense an attack coming. Thankfully I successfully evade. Unfortunately my summoner was not as fortunate. I look towards the attacker, wondering what it is. I quickly dodge an incoming wave of fire, internally thanking myself for always having magic sense active. The dragon. I'm fighting a fucking dragon. Well, this isn't part of the plan. Chapter 3. Jura Force. The dragon. I'm fighting a fucking dragon. Well, this wasn't part of the plan. Alright, let's analyze the situation. The dragon itself is massive, probably the biggest thing I've ever fought. I watch as it rises past the trees. I notice some monsters fleeing through magic sense. Can I even beat it? I try to get a read on its power, and it seems to be around my level, if not a little above me. It's doable. At the rate my magicules are depleting just by being in the demi-material plane, I can likely last a few days up here. That's not taking into account the magicules I spend in this fight though. I quickly set up a multi-layer barrier and imbue it with thermal resistance, lightning resistance and paralysis resistance. Hopefully this should weaken some of its attacks. Thankfully I put my sword inside my spatial storage. I take it out and coat it in ore, before sending an ore slash towards the dragon, before I use my wings to try and get an aerial advantage. The slash itself is avoided, but this does tell me that it likely would have taken some damage from it. After all, why would it dodge an attack that couldn't hurt it? Fuck, this thing is like a tank. Its natural body is able to handle a lot of my attacks without issue. I've been fighting it for an hour or so. It was even able to take on red with minimal injuries. I've even tried using my unique skills, but it is able to avoid almost all of my attacks. I haven't tried hollow purple yet, but I might have to. I'm slowly running out of magicules. I not only have to supply my skills and magics with magicules, but I also have to put conscious effort to stay in this world. I have not taken much damage at all, thanks to infinity blocking all the incoming attacks, but I have also been unable to deal a ton of damage. The surrounding area of the forest has been destroyed. I am contemplating retreating, as I don't want any stronger monsters to come over here due to all the noise. I don't know my environment, it's better to play it safe. I did sense some other powerful monsters around the area, though they seem to be focusing on keeping the destruction contained. That is part of the reason I am not using nuclear magic. I don't want to give them a reason to interfere in the fight if their goals are only to protect the environment. I take this opportunity to quickly use blue to teleport behind the dragon, and coat my sword in lightning before slashing at its back. Surprisingly, I finally got a hit in causing a large gash to appear on its body. I heard it roar in both pain and anger. It quickly turned towards me and flew at me at its highest speed so far. The dragon isn't the most intelligent creature, it's seen how ineffective his attacks are due to my infinity, but continues anyway. I'm still wary though, as I don't want to be caught off guard if something manages to pierce my infinity. Thankfully it fails once again as I take the opportunity to land another lightning-enhanced blow on its body. Finally making some progress. She watched as the demon and dragon continued their battle, causing shockwaves that destroyed the forest. She and her sisters have felt the forest being damaged and came over immediately to deal with the attacker. Once they arrived, she and her sisters made barriers to prevent the shockwaves from damaging more of the forest than it already did. When she looked to see who was fighting, she was surprised. They weren't expecting a demon and a dragon to be fighting after all. The demon seemed to have been summoned here by the corpse they found earlier, but what is this dragon doing away from the Canid Mountains? She will have to give this demon a stern talking to after the fight. If he wants to stay in the Cardinal World, he can't be causing wanton destruction. Focus, sisters, keep the destruction contained. We're trying, the dragon is making it difficult. Yeah, at least the demon isn't doing nearly as much damage. She sighs, this fight has been going on for an hour now, and there seems to be no end in sight. She wants to interfere, but in that scenario the demon or dragon might cause even more damage, let alone the fact that she might not be able to win against them. At least for now the demon is keeping it tamer than most of his kind. For now she and her sisters will continue to observe and contain the destruction. Felix. I came up with a plan to finally finish the dragon off. I don't have many other options, and I do want to beat the dragon rather than just retreating. Every time I use an ability that can potentially cause it harm or dodges. I tried to use spatial manipulation to hold it in place, but it seems that I'm not experienced enough as it breaks my hold every time. This time I won't give it time to react. I'll go all in on this next attack. If it doesn't work, I'm going to have no choice but to retreat. I charge up Hollow Purple. It notices the incoming danger and prepares to dodge. It may not have much intelligence, but it does have keen instincts. However, instead of just firing it at him like normal, I use Limitless to teleport behind it, and before he can react I fired. Hollow Purple. It still almost manages to dodge out of the way, but thankfully I still hit most of its body, causing it to drop dead. Thankfully there should be enough of it left to make a golem out of. Unfortunately the forest took quite a lot of damage from my last attack. An entire region of this area is gone. I suddenly feel 3 raging auras and take that as the K to leave. Before I leave I notice something appear out of the dragon's corpse. I watch as a ball of bluish-white light came out of the corpse and flew towards me. I instinctively knew what it was. The soul. I extend my hand and gulp it down. I try not to fully digest it, so I can have some time to find somewhere safe. I feel an evolution coming, so I act quickly. I store the dragon's corpse in spatial storage and use my wings, gravity flight and air flight to get as far away as possible. Once I get to a point where I can't feel those raging auras, I use isolate to protect myself as I allow myself to fall unconscious. Conditions for evolution have been met. Commencing evolution. Extra skill. Pain resistance has evolved into extra skill. Pain nullification. Extra skill. Fear resistance has evolved into extra skill. Fear nullification. Extra skill. Physical attack resistance has evolved into extra skill. Physical attack nullification. Extra skill. Thermal fluctuation resistance has evolved into extra skill. Thermal fluctuation nullification. Extra skill. Natural effects resistance acquisition successful. Extra skill. Abnormal condition resistance acquisition successful. Extra skill. Magic sense has evolved into extra skill. Universal sense. Extra skill. Danger sense has evolved into extra skill. Alter instinct. Common skill. Gravity flight has evolved into extra skill. Gravity manipulation. Evolution to Archdemon complete. Demonic core has been strengthened. Notice. Requesting evolution of Cursed Sage. Request for evolution of unique skill. Cursed Sage rejected. I woke up in an unfamiliar area, quite different from what I was used to. I quickly went through my memories to try and piece together what happened. Right, I was summoned, fought a dragon, and it seems like I also evolved. I looked around and saw that the world was much clearer to me now. The only way to describe it is that it felt like the world was in high definition now. I felt the changes in my body, so I got up and inspected myself. Best to learn what changed as soon as possible. I used some ice magic to create a large slab allowing me to see my reflection. I grin as I take in my new appearance. I still have my claws, horns, and tail, but those are easily hidden. The rest of my body is where the differences become apparent. My hair is back to how it was in my last life, white. My eyes are still the same, blue eyes with a black sclare, but that's okay. The most important thing is that my legs and face are back to how I looked in my previous life. No more looking like a monster. I got used to my demonic appearance after some time, but some part of me always hated it. It was a constant reminder that I was different. That I was not human. That I was a monster. Now while I mostly accepted that part of me, there would always be some part that craved my previous looks, if only for the vain thought of being attractive. I observed the rest of my physical differences. It seemed like I've grown a few inches taller. I clenched my fists and could feel the strength in my body surge. It was unreal. It was beyond anything I can compare it to. My previous level looked like a complete joke compared to how strong I was now. And to think there might be even higher evolutionary stages. The next thing I noticed was my magicules. My magicule capacity grew by an absurd amount. It felt practically endless compared to my previous amount. Though I do still feel the drain of staying in the demi-material world as a spiritual life form, I should take care of that soon. Is this the power of an archdemon? I felt as if I could easily wipe out my previous self without even trying. That's not even considering my newly upgraded skills. The power to destroy a country at my fingertips. I decide to learn. Universal sense is basically magic sense on steroids. It basically allows me to sense everything in an extremely large radius, multiple times over what I was able to sense with magic sense. Along with this, it allows me to perceive light, sound, smell and heat, much better than magic sense, which only allowed me to perceive light and sound. Ultra instinct gives me an even better danger precognition, very useful. Gravity manipulation allows me to freely manipulate and utilize gravity. I can still use it to fly, but it also has quite a few more uses now that I can utilize gravity freely. Gravity manipulation is quite a broken skill if used right. I can use it to increase gravity, causing everything to become heavier. Using this, I can easily crush weaker opponents to death. At a certain point I should be capable of creating black holes as well. After all, black holes are a region of spacetime where gravity is so strong that nothing can escape, not even light. Even then it can still do more. Gravity manipulation has a lot of high-level abilities to be learned, something I'm looking forward to. Now that I think about it, couldn't I do Shinra Tensei and Banshin Tenon with limitless? After all, at their core, blue and red use attraction and repulsion to do what they do. Definitely something to try out later. I also gained some new resistances while some evolved. With my new resistances, I should be able to create an even better multi-layer barrier. Now that I generally know my new abilities, I decide to get ready to leave my dimension. I take the dragon out of my spatial storage and dig out its bones. Once that is complete, I use creation magic to create a golem in the form of a skeleton made out of the dragon's bones. I store the rest of the dragon meat in spatial storage, and use Sphere Possession to possess the skeleton. I feel flesh start to form on the skeleton. Soon enough my body looks just like it did beforehand. Common skill. Self-regeneration acquisition successful. It feels odd having a physical body after so long without one. I'll get used to it though. For now I focus on analyzing my new skill and getting used to this new body. Self-regeneration allows me to heal from any physical injury. As long as I have the magicules for it, even limbs and missing organs can be regenerated. Now that I'm ready, it's time to leave. The moment I step out, my eyes go wide open. What the fuck is that massive ore? I couldn't feel it before due to my magic sense not reaching that far, but with universal sense, my range has increased astronomically. But still, what the fuck is that? I wonder how much stronger than me it is. I cannot tell due to how vast the difference between us currently is. Answer. To the nearest measurable degree, its magicules exceed yours by more than 15 times. What the fuck? It seems to just be casually releasing its aura. It doesn't seem to even be trying to fight anything. And even then it is still at least 15 times stronger than me. The aura is west of my current location and doesn't seem to be moving. Knowing this, I decide to go nowhere near that area. Fuck that. I decide to fly south of my current location. Hopefully there is at least a village that way. I was constantly on alert. This forest is a dangerous one if that dragon from earlier was anything to go by, and while I could easily beat the dragon as I am now, who knows if there are stronger monsters in this forest. And while I assume there are far less monsters that can fight in the sky, it is best to be careful. I made sure to keep an eye on that massive aura just in case, though my concerns have been unfounded so far as it hasn't moved at all. After some time I have Cursed Sage manage universal sense. While I could have done it myself and was doing it with parallel processing, I find it easier to rely on Cursed Sage for these kinds of things. Cursed Sage can quickly utilize my skills to analyze the threat level of anything around me, at a rate much quicker than my own. And does Curse Sage makes life a lot easier. It's been an hour or so since I started flying, unfortunately not much has happened. I did spot some monsters along the way, but they were much weaker compared to me, so I ignored them. Fortunately something interesting did happen. I managed to spot some beehives in the forest. I was able to extract a bunch of honey from multiple beehives. I stored the extra honey in some glass containers I created using material creation, and ate the rest. It's been ages since I was able to eat anything. I can't wait to try out the cuisine of this world. As I was pondering on what sort of food there might be in this world, I spotted a village in the distance. Finally, hopefully I can learn where I am and maybe get some shelter and food. As I focus in on the village, I check to see if there's anyone strong there. I don't find anyone that could prove a challenge to me, but I decide to be careful anyways, as they might be capable of hiding their ores. Maybe they might know what that large ore is. Who knows, it might not even be a hostile monster. Thankfully I still had some of the dragon's corpse in my spatial storage. Hopefully I can exchange that for everything I need. As I descend down, I used an illusion to hide my black sclare, and concealed my demonic presence as much as possible. Once that was done, I released some of my aura in order to alert them that I'm there, but not enough to scare them. I don't want to be rude and come into their village unannounced after all. I watch as 5 battle-ready monsters come outside. They all have horns. Could they be Oni of some kind? Answer. According to analysis of subjects, they are ogres. Ogres? They are Oni. That's interesting. I wonder what other sorts of races are out there that I wasn't able to learn about. There were 2 red-headed males who were wielding katanas, one with his hair styled in a ponytail, one purple-haired female holding a mace, a blue-haired male wielding a tanto, and lastly an elderly man wielding a katana in a familiar stance. As the Raidid with the ponytail approached me, I heard the elderly man whisper in his ear to be careful, and that I was a trained swordsman. How was he able to tell? The old man said only an extremely skilled swordmaster should be capable of telling that with only a look. This put me on edge. I could feel that the elderly man wasn't as strong as me, but he could be hiding some of his ore. The Raidid approached me and said, "What brings you here, outsider?" I was just looking for some food and shelter for a day or so, along with any information you would be willing to share. I would also be willing to exchange part of a dragon's corpse for your help. If that isn't enough, I'd be willing to pay you in another way, as long as it's within limits. The dragon. I see. We will take you to the chief. He will decide whether we can host you. I politely tilt my head to them as I say, "Thank you." As I follow the group, I approach the older one. As I approach, I can tell the group is ready in case of a sudden attack, but ignore that and ask, "What style of swordsmanship do you practice? Your stance is similar to the style I was taught." I practice the hazy style, a style that was passed down to me by my grandfather. "Which style do you practice?" I looked at him in surprise. Odd, that's the style I was taught as well. Now he looked at me in shock. That shouldn't be possible unless your teacher was someone my grandfather taught, and he died ages ago. Could the old man have learned from this grandfather of his? Maybe. The old man who taught me was at least a few centuries old. Maybe he knew your grandfather. I didn't want to tip off anyone to my demon heritage just yet. That's why I hid my sclare. It's one of the most obvious signs that I'm a demon. And possibly, I would like to spar with you when you get a chance if that is agreeable to you. I find myself curious to what degree someone who learned the hazy style outside this village has mastered it. That sounds good to me. I could use the practice, and while I haven't mastered the hazy style to the degree my teacher has, I have been practicing it for a while. Once we enter the village, I take in the view. The village isn't all that large. It can likely house 300 people max, but it's, how do I say it, untouched. Yes, it's untouched. Nature is shining in its natural state. No cars, no modern homes, just pure untouched nature. As I follow behind and look around, the Raidid with the ponytail says, "We are taking you to the chief. He is the one who has the final decision on whether you can stay or not." On the way we pass by quite a few of these, presumably Oni. The village is quite lively. There are children playing on a swing, others running around. We finally make it to the center of the village where the largest home is. Once we enter, I see another Redared Oni. Could these guys be related? Who did you bring to the village today? I warn you to be careful. You never know what kind of intention someone has. The Raidid with shorter hair steps up. "Yes, father, we know. This Majin simply wanted some shelter, food and information. He is willing to pay for it with a dragon's corpse." A dragon's corpse. Their meat is notoriously delicious. Aha, so they are related, and what's this about, Imagine? I take this moment to step up and say, "Hello sir, I am indeed willing to compensate you with a dragon's corpse. However, it isn't a full corpse as some of it was destroyed in the battle. Most of its meat is still there, however." I decide to be respectful as they haven't given me a reason not to be. May I see how much of the dragon you were able to preserve?" "Yes, sure, just tell me where I can take it out. I don't want to get your home all dirty." I follow him to the back of his home where he leads me to his backyard of sorts. "Please take it out here if you wouldn't mind." I give a curt nod and take the dragon corpse out of my spatial storage. I hear the group that escorted me here gasp. It seems you were telling the truth, quite an impressive feat, especially with the amount of magicules the corpse is radiating. It was likely a medium dragon. Did you do it alone? Medium dragon. Is that its classification, sort of like how demons are classified as lesser demons, greater demons and archdemons? It seems I still have quite a bit to learn about the world. Seeing no reason to not honestly answer his question, I say, yeah, it was quite challenging though, its scales were hard to get through. I see, you must be quite powerful then. It would take a large group of us ogres to take a dragon like this out. Aha, yeah, I am kinda strong. I've been training for a while after all. Well, this is sufficient payment to stay as long as you don't cause trouble. I will have 2 clansmen teach you about the surrounding area as well. Thank you, village chief. I won't cause any trouble. I decided not to share my demonic heritage. It's not like I'm going to stay here for long anyway. He nodded at me and looked towards his sons and said, escort him to the guest home and make sure he has everything he needs. Of course, father. The short-haired Redeed looked towards me and said, follow me, I will show you where you will be staying. I nodded and followed him out of the chief's house. The other ogres split off to do their own business, I assume, though the Redeed with the ponytail followed along. The 2 ogres showed me round the village on the way. For what I saw, life in this village is quite simple. Everyone has their roles and everyone seems generally satisfied with their lives. After all that I was shown where I will be staying, the house isn't massive, but it is more than sufficient for one person. It has everything I will need to live comfortably, which is more than enough. I wasn't here for the shelter primarily, I was after the food and the information they possess. Feel free to settle in, we will come to pick you up later once it's time for food. I thank them as they leave and decide to heed their words and lay on the bed until it's time for food, not much else to do after all. Chapter 4. Jura Forest Part 2. It's been 2.5 months since I was summoned. I stayed a lot longer than I initially planned to, but I've enjoyed my time here. The very day I arrived in the village there was some action. Flashback. I was woken by Cursed Sage warning me about an incoming hostile presence approaching the village. It was decently strong too. Just slightly weaker than the dragon I fought. I quickly went outside and flew upwards to try and see what's going on with gravity manipulation. The sun is just now setting, so it couldn't have been more than a few hours since I got here. I spot a centipede-looking thing fighting against what I can only assume are the warrior ogres. The group that escorted me in is included in that group. What exactly is that Cursed Sage? Answer. According to analysis, the subject is a mutated evil centipede. It likely mutated due to consuming a stronger life form. I see, some monsters can mutate just by eating something stronger than them. I wonder what other sort of unique monsters can be out there then. Maybe I'll even get to see an overpowered slime. I observe the fight from above for now. The fight so far is pretty, even though it is slightly in the centipede's favor. It does have quite a few interesting abilities, though it seems like the ogres are prepared for most of them. I was able to copy some interesting new skills like poison breath. After some time the ogres start to get worn out. They have gotten quite a few good hits throughout the battle, but not enough to finish it off. They don't have infinite stamina either, so they are tiring out. I decide to step in once it looks like the centipede is going to kill an ogre, the purple-haired one that was part of the group that escorted me in. I quickly use blue to teleport in front of the ogre that was about to be bisected, and use a new application of ret I have been practicing to create a repulsive force to send the centipede flying back. I quickly follow behind it and easily cut its head off with my sword. Much easier than dealing with that dragon. I leave the corpse there for now and fly back towards the group. Once I got there, the Redeed with the ponytail came up to me, bowed and said, "Thank you for saving our friend's life, benefactor. We are in your debt." Ah, it's fine, no need to bow, it wasn't any trouble. The rest of the group followed his lead and thanked me. The purple-haired one was especially enthusiastic. Now that I'm actually observing her, man, does she have some big tits. Whoever she ends up with will be quite lucky. Present. After that there was a feast. I let the ogres have the body of the centipede as I had no use for it. The ogres insisted that I stayed here as long as I wanted after that, and I saw no reason to reject. I'm not in a hurry after all. I did reveal my demon heritage after some time, though they didn't particularly care. Most of them were experienced enough to understand that one's race does not define them. Another thing that happened was that 3 dryads showed up one day to lecture me about damaging the forest with my hollow purple when I was fighting the medium dragon. Apparently it's their job to make sure the forest isn't damaged. Man, do they take their job seriously. They were quite strong too. The one in the lead was probably about as strong as I am. She even had a name. Trainee. Apparently they're some type of elemental. Other than that, I trained my swordsmanship with the old ogre. I've taken to calling him old ogre, as calling him old man would be confusing. He is an absolute beast when it comes to swordsmanship, better than the old man, I would say. Well, I could beat him in a fight if we were to use all our abilities in pure swordsmanship. He would win almost every time at first. Thankfully, Cursed Sage inherited Sage's comprehension boosting ability. Combined with the studious one, I was able to improve my technique fairly quickly. The other ogres were quite strong as well. They all learned under the old ogre, though some of them branched out a bit. I did end up meeting a pink-haired ogre. She looked the most human out of all the ogres. Apparently she is Redeed's sister and the daughter of the chief. One issue was that none of them had names, so it was a bit of a pain to refer to some of them, so I just went ahead and called them based on the color of their hair. Since there were two Redeeds, I called the one without a ponytail Red and the other one Ponytail. Rather simple ways to refer to them, but what can a man do? I suck at naming after all. Thankfully me nicknaming them based on their hair didn't count as naming them. I guess you have to intend to name someone for it to actually work. According to Cursed Sage, while I can name some of them, it will result in some side effects for me, as I am not strong enough to casually name beings with their strength. The purple-haired ogre, or as I like to call her Purple, has taken to following me around everywhere. She said she wanted to serve me in order to repay me for saving her life. Apparently she already got permission from the chief to do as she wishes. I told her she didn't have to do that, but she insisted, and I'm not going to say no to a hot chick wanting to be my servant. I mean, who would? It also doesn't hurt to have some subordinates. Numbers can be useful after all. I can't do everything myself, especially when I eventually go to other worlds. I was also able to gain some information. Well, the ogres didn't know a whole lot, but they knew enough. They needed to if they wanted to survive after all. I was able to learn exactly what that massive aura was. Apparently some hero sealed a rampaging true dragon inside the forest. So hopefully I don't need to worry about that. True dragons are basically the highest form of existence in this world. They are each immensely powerful forces of nature. I was also able to learn that monsters can be born from the magicules I constantly radiate. Even when I am suppressing most of my aura, I still have a presence that's hard to hold back. The ogres don't have to worry about this, as they aren't really strong enough for monsters to be born from the magicules they release, but that is something that I was concerned about. While I might not currently be strong enough for super strong monsters to be born from the magicules I release, that might change in the future if I do discover that there are further evolutions. Who knows though, that's something I'll have to figure out in the future. It might not even be something I need to worry about. Now the forest itself is called the Great Jura Forest, the territory of the sealed true dragon Baldur. There are a few other villages in the forest like the Gozu, basically minotaurs, along with the Mezu, which are also basically minotaurs, except with horse heads. The forest is filled with tribes like these. Hopefully I can meet some of these races sometime. The forest is basically a buffer zone between multiple countries. It's surrounded by both human countries and monster countries. Knowing all this information, I made a plan for which countries to visit. I'm generally planning to stay away from the purely human countries. Just seems like a hassle to deal with if it's discovered that I'm a demon. Especially the Holy Empire Rubirios. Those guys are basically the most anti-monster nation around. I wasn't able to learn a lot about them, just that they have their own knights that protect them and nations affiliated with them. Best to stay away from that mess. The best countries to visit would be countries that welcome non-humans like Dworgen, and the countries ruled by demon lords. Though I think it's best to stay away from demon lords for now. Unfortunately, even I know that soon enough I'm going to have to end up leaving. I do want to see the world after all. As we leave the village, I ponder on everything I've experienced so far. It's only been 3 months, but I've had a great time in this world so far. I was able to try many different types of foods, grow my swordsmanship, learn how to use my skills in more creative ways, and learn more about the world around me. I was able to master how to use Shinra Tensei and Banshin Tenon with Limitless, along with the secret arts of the hazy style. Now I can target specific people with it, rather than hitting everything. I learned some new useful arts as well, like Formite and Magic Bullet. Formite basically allows me to hide my presence and form in a more effective way. Magic Bullet is basically just a dense ball of aura and magicules that you can fire at your enemy. I wasn't the only one who grew either. Ponytail and Redeed also learned quite a bit from me, whether that was through our duels or me sharing some magical knowledge I thought would help them. I was also able to get Purple to change weapons. I wasn't expecting her to change as I assumed she was set on her path, but when I offered to make her a weapon with material creation, she asked me to make an Eldachi. While she wasn't used to it at first, she learned quickly. After some time we reached the village entrance. Both Purple and I turned around to say our goodbyes. Redeed looked towards me, bowed and said, "You are welcome back anytime, benefactor. Please keep our friend out of trouble." No, thank you for being wonderful hosts. I learned many new things and got to try many new things as well. I'll be sure to visit again sometime. Purple said goodbye next. There were some tears, but she promised to visit. Little did I know the next time I returned circumstances would be completely different.